You have been taught a lie. Your entire experience of life, with its burdens and its separate joys, is built upon a fundamental misconception. You believe you are a self living in a world of other selves and objects, and from this, all your struggle is born. I am not here to give you a new philosophy to believe. I am here to point you toward a radical and immediate fact, the only fact there is. We are about to embark on a journey to uncover the truth of non-duality, not as a theory, but as your own living reality. We will walk the specific inner steps that lead out of the dream of separation and into the conscious awareness of what you have always been, the one, indivisible, divine consciousness itself. This is not for the curious spectator, it is for the hungry and the thirsty. If your heart has yearned for a peace the world cannot give, then you are called to participate. To subscribe to this channel is to make the sacred decision to turn within. And if you are ready to take the first step into this new consciousness, comment with the number 1, symbolizing your single, unified intent to know the truth. You believe you are a self living in a world of other selves and objects, and from this, all your struggle is born. This sense of a separate I, this central character in the story of your life, is the very cornerstone of the illusion we must examine. It feels so real, so tangible. You wake up in the morning as this I. You go through your day with its desires and fears, and you lay your head down at night with its regrets and plans. The entire world system, from personal ambition to global conflict, is built upon the unquestioned acceptance of this separate entity. But what if this you, that you have spent a lifetime protecting, improving, and satisfying, is not the ultimate reality? What if it is merely a temporary formation, a cloud in the vast sky of being, mistaken for the sky itself? Consider a simple moment of irritation. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Immediately, a reaction flares up. How dare they? They offended me. Notice the structure of this experience. There is a me here, solid and central, and there is a them out there, a separate, offending object. The entire event is built on the foundation of two. This is duality in action. The pain, the anger, the disturbance. All of it springs from this fundamental sense of separation. Now, observe a moment of pleasure. You receive a compliment, and a feeling of satisfaction arises. I am appreciated. This makes me happy. Again, the same structure. Me, receiving something from a them. Even our most cherished joys are often tinged with this separation, which is why they are fleeting, why they fear loss. The separate self is a pendulum swinging between desire and fear, attraction and aversion, and its entire existence is dependent on this perceived gap between itself and the rest of creation. We spend our lives trying to rearrange the objects and people out there to make the separate self and here feel more secure, more loved, more successful. We are like waves in the ocean, each wave frantically trying to secure its own water, its own form, fighting against other waves, fearing the crash upon the shore, never realizing that its true substance, its very being, is the whole ocean itself. The wave is not in the ocean. The wave is an activity of the ocean. In the same way, you are not in the universe. You are an expression of the one infinite consciousness. The sense of a separate, independent self is the primary veil that hides this truth from you. This I is not what you truly are. It is a collection of thoughts, memories, sensations, and perceptions that have coalesced into a seemingly solid identity. It is a useful tool for navigating the relative world, a necessary instrument, but we have made the catastrophic error of identifying as the instrument instead of I as the musician who is playing it. When you say, I am angry, you have become the anger. When you say, I am a failure, you have become the story of failure. This identification is the root of all suffering. To begin the journey toward enlightenment is to begin the profound and often unsettling process of disentangling your awareness from this phantom self. This does not mean you become a void or a non-entity. Far from it. It means you discover your true dimension, which is limitless. The wave does not die when it realizes it is the ocean. It simply understands its own eternal nature for the first time. It trades a fragile, temporary existence for an infinite, indestructible one. Your daily life, with all its interactions, becomes the very theater for this discovery. The next time anxiety arises, instead of immediately saying, I am anxious, can you pause and simply witness the sensation? Can you notice the tightness in the chest, the racing thoughts, without claiming them as your central identity? In that moment of pure witnessing, a space opens up. In that space, you are not the anxious person. You are the awareness in which anxiety is appearing. This is a practical, immediate taste of non-duality. It is not a philosophical concept to be debated, but a shift in perception to be lived. The separate self is a constellation of thoughts and feelings, and you are the vast sky in which they all twinkle into existence and fade away. To see this, even for a fleeting instant, is to strike the first and most decisive blow against the tyranny of duality. This sense of a separate I is the primary veil, and when it begins to thin, even for a moment, a new reality starts to press in upon your awareness. This is not the introduction of a new belief, but the recognition of what has always been, eternally and immutably, the only substance there is. We give it the name God. But this word is so burdened by centuries of misconception. We are not speaking of a person, a being separate from you who rules from a distant throne in the sky. That very concept is just another projection of the dualistic mind, creating a big other to worship or fear. The truth is far more intimate, far more profound, and utterly inescapable. God is the only reality and identity. This means that the very awareness that is reading these words, the consciousness that perceives the room around you, the life that animates your body, this is not yours. It is God's. It is God. You, that you thought you were, is a temporary modification of this one consciousness, a localized point of awareness within the infinite field of awareness itself. Just as the space in this room is not separate from the space of the universe, Your consciousness is not separate from divine consciousness. It is the same one substance, the same one being. Your true identity is not the character in the play, with its specific lines and costumes. Your true identity is the stage upon which the entire play appears, and indeed, the very author of the play itself. To live from this recognition is to undergo a complete revolution in your entire experience of life. Consider the simple act of looking at a tree. From the perspective of the separate self, you are here and the tree is there. It is an object outside of you. But from the standpoint of non-duality, what is truly happening? The consciousness that is aware of the tree, the life that animates the tree, and the life that animates your body is one and the same life, one and the same consciousness. There are not two consciousnesses meeting. There is only God, perceiving God, as tree and as perceiver. The separation is an optical illusion of the senses, confirmed by a mind trained to see duality. The reality is a single, unified, seamless field of being. This understanding transforms every challenge. When a financial worry arises, the old self sees a problem that belongs to it alone, a burden it must solve with its own limited power. It feels itself to be a solitary wave fighting the ocean. But when you remember your true identity, the context shifts entirely. The worry may still arise as a thought form, but it is now seen to be appearing within the infinite, abundant, all-providing substance of God. You are not a wave trying to find water. You are the ocean itself. The problem does not vanish magically, but your relationship to it is utterly transformed. You stop looking for a solution out here, and you turn within to the source in a deep, silent listening, knowing that the intelligence that governs the galaxies is the same intelligence that is orchestrating this very situation. Your role is not to personally command the universe, but to be a transparency through which the universe operates. This is the great secret the masters have always pointed to. Your life is not your own. Your mind is not the ultimate thinker. Your strength is not your personal possession. I of mine own self can do nothing is not a statement of weakness, but the most profound declaration of power ever uttered. It is the surrender of the illusion of a separate power, which is always limited and fearful, and the awakening to the one power, which is omnipotent. When you stop trying to be God and realize you are God, not a person, but the divine principle itself, all struggle ceases. You begin to move through the world not as a seeker, but as the sought. You are no longer a servant trying to please a distant master. You are the Son, the very expression of the Father, through whom the Father's will is naturally and effortlessly performed. Every action becomes a divine activity. Every encounter becomes a communion. The world remains the world, but it is now seen for what it is. A perfect, seamless manifestation of the one life, and you are that. To realize that your true identity is the one divine consciousness is the ultimate goal, but this is not an intellectual realization. It cannot be grasped by the thinking mind, for the thinking mind is itself a product of the very duality we are seeking to transcend. The mind analyzes, separates, and compares. It functions by creating subject and object, knower and known. Therefore, to know God, to know yourself, requires a different faculty entirely. It requires a movement beyond thought into a state of pure, receptive awareness. This is the sacred practice of inner stillness and listening, and it is the most practical and necessary step on this path. This is not listening for a sound, nor is it stillness of the body, though a quiet body can be a helpful beginning. This is the profound, active stillness of consciousness itself. It is the conscious decision to withdraw attention from the endless parade of thoughts, sensations, and external stimuli, and to turn it back upon its source. Think of your awareness as a beam of light. Your entire life, that beam has been projected outward, illuminating the world, naming it, judging it, desiring it, or fearing it. Now, you must turn that beam of light around 180 degrees and aim it not at an object, but into the void from which it originally emanates. You are not seeking to ever see anything, but to ever be the seeing itself before any object is seen. How does one do this in the midst of a busy life? You do not need to retreat to a mountaintop, though moments of formal quiet are invaluable. The practice can begin right now, as you read this. Notice the impulse to finish this sentence and move to the next. That is the restless mind. Now, for just a moment, suspend that impulse. Become aware of the awareness that is reading. Feel the life that is present in your hands, your chest, your breath. Do not analyze it. Simply feel it. In that moment, you have stepped out of the stream of continuous thinking and have anchored yourself in the witness, in the silent background of your own being. This is the beginning of inner listening. The world will call this idleness or daydreaming, but it is the most productive activity you will ever undertake, for it is in this silence that a different kind of knowing is received. It is not a thought, not a voice, not a vision. It is a palpable feeling of presence, a certainty, a peace that has no opposite. This is the still, small voice that is not a voice at all, but the direct impartation of truth. In this silence, the sense of a separate I begins to dissolve because you are no longer feeding it with your constant attention to its dramas. You are attending to the source, and as you attend to the source, you become the source. The wave is consciously relaxing into the ocean. Apply this when conflict arises. Someone says something that hurts you. The old mechanism is immediacy, a story of injustice, a defense of the self, a planning of a retort. The entire mental and emotional apparatus is energized. Now, instead of engaging that mechanism, pause, even for 3 seconds. In that pause, do not think about the problem. Do not analyze who is right or wrong. Simply turn inward to the feeling of the hurt itself. Go behind the story to the raw sensation in the body, the tightness, the heat. Be the silent, spacious awareness in which that sensation is allowed to simply be. Do not fight it or claim it. Just witness it. In that sacred space of inner stillness, a miracle occurs. The reaction loses its fuel. The separate self which was the center of the storm, is seen to be transparent. From that stillness, an action may arise, a word, a gesture, but it will not come from the reactive ego. It will come from the intelligence of the whole, and it will be right, and it will be peace. This is not suppression, it is transcendence. You are not stilling the mind by force. You are discovering the stillness that was always there beneath the mind's noise. This practice is the furnace of spiritual transformation, where the illusion of separation is burned away not through effort, but through the gentle, relentless power of attentive, silent, loving awareness. As you cultivate this inner stillness, you will begin to notice a fundamental shift in how you perceive the mechanics of the world. The entire universe of your experience will start to reveal its true nature, and you will see that the greatest barrier to enlightenment is a deeply ingrained belief in two powers. From the moment we are born, we are taught that there are opposing forces at play: good and evil, health and sickness, success and failure, life and death. We are trained to pursue one and avoid the other, believing that they are separate, competing realities. This is the grand deception, the final fortress of the ego, and its dissolving is absolutely essential. There are not two powers. There is only one power, one presence, one divine substance, and it is all there is. What appears as a second power, be it disease, lack, or conflict, is not a power in itself. It is an activity of consciousness, a shadow, a temporary formation appearing within the one and only reality. Think of it as a whirlpool in a river. The whirlpool has no independent existence. It is entirely made of the river's water and is completely dependent on the river's flow. It may appear to have its own power, its own pull, but it has no substance separate from the river. In the same way, what you call a problem, an illness, or an enemy has no reality, no substance, and no power of its own apart from the one divine consciousness. It is a pattern of thought, a misperception, a cloud passing through the sky of being. To believe in a power of evil, a power of disease, or a power of lack is to grant reality to an illusion. It is to believe the whirlpool is a real entity that can threaten the river. This belief is what gives these appearances their seeming strength and longevity. Your fear of sickness empowers the appearance of sickness. Your struggle against poverty confirms the reality of poverty. You are, in effect, taking your own God, given power of belief, and projecting it outward, creating your own adversary, and then fighting against your own creation. This is the exhausting, endless battle of dualistic living. The practice, then, is to withdraw this misplaced power. It is to see through the appearance and recognize the one substance everywhere, even where the senses report something else. When a symptom of illness appears in the body, the old consciousness immediately reacts. It sees a powerful enemy that must be fought. It rushes to doctors, to medicines, to fear. But the awakened consciousness takes a different approach. It turns within to the stillness, and it knows this one truth. There is only one life, and that life is God, and that life is my life now. This life is whole, perfect, and harmonious. It does not know disease. The appearance is a false claim, a suggestion presented to consciousness. By refusing to accept it as a power, and by abiding in the conscious awareness of the one perfect life, you are not fighting a disease. You are illuminating a shadow with light. The shadow has no choice but to disappear, for it never had any substance to begin with. Apply this to a relationship conflict. You see someone as difficult, as an opponent. This perception of a separate, opposing will is the belief in two powers. Your work is not to change them, but to change your consciousness about them. You must sit in the silence and realize there is only one I am. The I am that I am is the I am that they are. There is not their mind and my mind. There is the one divine mind, expressing individually as each of us. Any appearance of opposition, any sense of a separate will, is an illusion. As you hold to this truth, not as a hopeful thought, but as the very bedrock of your being, the perception of conflict begins to soften. The other person may not change their behavior, but your experience of their behavior will be transformed. You will no longer see an adversary to defeat, but a misperception of oneness to be healed within your own awareness. You dissolve the belief in two powers by steadfastly knowing there is only one. And this knowing is not a passive philosophy, but an active, creative force that reshapes your world from the inside out. This is the alchemy of non-duality, where every appearance of a second power becomes an opportunity to reaffirm the glorious and absolute supremacy of the one. The dissolution of the belief in two powers is not an event that leaves you in a void of inaction. On the contrary, it ushers you into the most dynamic and natural state of being, living from the unseen source. You are no longer living from the surface of life, reacting to the endless chain of effects, but you are now abiding at the cause, at the very fountainhead of existence. This is a life lived from the inside out, a complete reversal of the human experience. The world will continue to present its pictures of lack, of limitation, of discord, but you will no longer be compelled to accept them as your reality. You will know them for what they are, fleeting images on the screen, while you have become established as the projector itself. To live from the unseen source is to understand that your good, your supply, your health, and your harmony do not originate in the external world. The world of form is the world of effect. The job, the relationship, the healing, these are all effects. To seek your salvation, there is to chase shadows. The source is the invisible, spiritual substance, the divine consciousness, from which all form flows effortlessly and perfectly. Your entire work, therefore, shifts. You are no longer a beggar pleading with the universe for scraps. You are the heir, consciously abiding in your inheritance, knowing that the entire estate is already yours. Your prayer is not one of petition, but of recognition. You are not asking for a thing. You are acknowledging the ever-present is-ness of all that you could ever need. Imagine you require a specific sum of money to meet an obligation. The old way is to look at your bank account, feel anxiety, and then frantically search for ways to make the money appear. A second job, a loan, a desperate gamble. This is living from the effect, and it is a state of fear and struggle. The new way is to turn completely away from the appearance of lack. You close your eyes to the emptiness, and you open your consciousness to the fullness of the source. You sit in the silence, and you know, with a conviction that bypasses the intellect, that the one divine substance is the only substance there is. It is infinite, abundant, and ever available. It is the very fabric of reality. You do not visualize the money. You become one with the substance that forms all money. You feel its infinite flow. You rest in its absolute reality. You are no longer a person trying to get money. You are the very consciousness through which the form of supply must naturally and inevitably appear. Then you go about your day in peace. An idea may come, an opportunity may present itself, a check may arrive unexpectedly. You will not be surprised, for you will understand it not as a lucky break, but as the natural, logical effect of your abiding in the cause. This is how the Master lives. When hungry, he does not first see the empty plate. He abides in the truth that he is already fed by the substance of God, and the meal appears. When faced with an impossible situation, she does not first see the impossibility. She abides in the truth that the one divine intelligence is the only actor, and the solution unfolds. This is not magic. It is the supreme law of being. You are not manipulating reality. You are aligning with it. You are ceasing to live as an effect in a world of effects, and beginning to live as the cause. Your senses will scream that this is foolish, that you must take matters into your own hands. But the hands of the personal self are weak and limited. The hand of God is the only hand there is. To let go of the personal sense of doing is to allow the infinite to do its perfect work through you. Your actions then become inspired, timely, and effortless. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time, saying the right words, not because you calculated it, but because you are being moved by the same intelligence that moves the stars. You live not by bread alone, but by every word, every impulse that proceeds from the unseen source. This is the glorious liberty of the awakened life, where every moment is a spontaneous creation, and you are not the anxious creator, but the very space and substance in which creation happens. To believe that this transition from a life of struggle to a life of grace is your own personal achievement would be the final and most subtle error of the ego. After all this work of stilling the mind, dissolving duality, and turning within, you may feel a sense of accomplishment, a belief that you have attained something. This, too, must be relinquished. The ultimate truth that shatters the final chain is this: the entire journey is an illusion. There is no one who awakens. There is only awakening happening. And this awakening is not a reward for effort. It is a bestowal, a revelation, a sudden and often shocking recognition that what you have been seeking, you already are. This is grace as the active agent in awakening, and it is the most humbling and liberating realization of all. your practice of silence, your devotion to truth, your steadfastness in the face of appearances, these are not the causes of enlightenment. They do not force the hand of God. They are, instead, the preparation of the vessel. They are the clearing of the debris, the stilling of the turbulent waters, so that the reflection of the sun upon them can become clear and undistorted. The sun itself has always been shining. The sun does not rise because the water becomes still. The stillness merely allows the water to accurately reflect the sun that was already there. Your spiritual work is the becoming still. The dawning of the light is an act of grace. It is given, not earned. It descends upon you, it rises within you, but it is never, ever of you. You can no more achieve God, consciousness through personal, will than a wave can achieve being the ocean. The wave can only relax and discover it has always been the ocean. This understanding dissolves the last vestige of the spiritual seeker, the one who is on a path, accumulating wisdom and climbing a ladder to heaven. There is no ladder. There is only the sudden, breathtaking realization that you are already at the destination. You are not becoming enlightened. You are discovering that you are enlightenment itself. This is why the moment of true awakening is often accompanied not by a shout of triumph, but by a profound and silent laughter at the cosmic joke. You see that you have been wearing a crown your entire life while begging for scraps, believing yourself to be a pauper. How does this play out in your daily experience? You have been grappling with a deep-seated fear for years. You have applied all the principles. You have observed it without identification. You have recognized it as an appearance without substance. You have abided in the stillness, and yet it persists. Then, one ordinary morning, while you are washing a dish, feeling the warm water on your hands, it is simply gone. Not fought away, not reasoned away, but vanished as if it never was. You cannot trace its departure. You did nothing in that moment to make it leave. Its disappearance was a gift. That is grace. Or you are faced with a situation that would have once triggered a torrent of anger and resentment. You brace for the reaction. You turn within, but nothing comes. Where the storm should be, there is only a quiet, unshakable peace. You did not create that peace through force. It is present as a fact, as a natural state. That is grace. It is the divine activity operating where the personal self has stepped aside. This is the final surrender. It is the giving up of the I. That is even trying to be spiritual. It is the recognition that the very seeking was a subtle form of clinging to a separate self. When you truly see that even your most devoted practice is being orchestrated by a wisdom far beyond your own, a profound relaxation occurs. The burden of being the doer falls away completely. You watch as your life unfolds, as your spiritual understanding deepens, as healing occurs, not as the proud architect, but as a grateful witness to a mystery infinitely grander than yourself. You are not walking the path. The path is unfolding within you, and the power that moves your feet, the intelligence that guides your steps, and the love that fills your heart is the one eternal, and ever active grace. This is the end of seeking, not because you have found an object, but because you have realized you are the very subject of all that is, and that this realization itself is the greatest gift, given freely from the source to itself in the eternal, silent, and glorious dance of being.